Tim Petrowich here for Dateline Marion, and it's time for our weekly visit with Marion Head Football coach Kerry Martin. And exciting game last week, Coach. Wildcats long road trip, late touchdown, came away with a 26-24 win over a pretty decent Galesburg team.
Yeah, it's a good win. Especially when you travel that far. You've got a lot of factors involved with bus trip and hotel and meals, and it's just it's a big undertaking. And I've got some coaches on my staff who played in the NFL, or they've been a part of some Division I college situations, and they had talked to the kids about even at the highest level, winning on the road is difficult because of the distractions. And so we tried to make a real concerted effort to get their minds right early in the week and think about the challenges of going up there. And I'll tell you, our kids were real mature the way they handled it, the way they handled the hotel, the meetings, and all the things that go into a road trip. And I was real proud of them. And they came out, and I felt like they were ready to play, at 2 o'clock on Saturday after a long bus ride on Friday and a night in the hotel.
Now, I think for the second week in a row, this needs to be pointed out. Late in the game, this time it was in the third quarter, Galesburg really took control of the game. They went from down by a touchdown. It was 14-6, I think, at halftime. They scored, I believe, 18 straight points, 2 touchdowns and a field goal. It was 24-14. And again, your team had an opportunity to fold up the tent. Long bus ride, things aren't going our way, and instead they dug in, they rallied, they came back and got the late touchdowns to win.
They did, and it's a shame you got to get down like that. We couldn't. We had a chance to come out in the second half and really do some things. They went on a nice drive. They took it to us. They drove like 80 yards or so and scored to start the third quarter. And you're right, our kids responded pretty well. We didn't have a great first and third quarter, but we played well enough in the second and fourth to beat a good football team. And we've got to put 4 quarters together. It's a big concern of mine, is some of the inconsistency we're still seeing. But I love the effort. I love the adversity battles, and I was proud of the way they came back.
Now, one of the things that might not go noticed is, you gave up 24 points, but the defense only gave up 2 touchdowns. And I thought, especially in the first half, the defense really played well. You didn't give them a whole lot, a couple of long runs by Morin, but more often than not, a kid who had 300 yards a week before, there were a lot of ones and zeros and negative ones on his stat line in that first half especially.
Defense kept us in the game. The first half we sputtered on offense quite a bit, and the defense did a great job of keeping that ball game close enough where we had a chance to win it. And we put some pressure on them. We gave up a punt block for a touchdown, and we made some turnovers early in the game. I think gave them the ball back pretty quickly at times, and our defense just kept going out there and answering the call, and that was huge.
I have to point this out. This is one of the things I noticed, and it's funny that I'm actually looking for this when you're in a situation where you're close to scoring. The touchdown you got right before halftime, there was like 4 seconds left in halftime, and on 3 consecutive plays, you ran the same play, a little rollout by Isaac looking for Seth Baer, a couple times in the corner of the end zone, once shy of the end zone. All 3 plays, there were some tremendous blocks in the backfield by Braden Ziegler to keep Isaac safe. And one play, I think the second of those 3 plays, he knocked out 2 guys with 1 block.
He did.
Talk about, here's a kid who is the feature back in your offense, and he's out there laying out kids on blocks.
That's part of why we love him so much in this program, is because he'll do the things that are necessary when it comes to running the ball and scoring touchdowns. He'll also equally do the things that are team things, that are making key blocks in pass protection, or blocking the edge on a rollout, or blocking for a teammate, or he never stops, and I that's what I love about him. He's one of the most unselfish young men I've ever coached. He'll do whatever the team needs him to do, and it's that kind of effort and that kind of sacrifice and team first stuff that just makes us a better program because of young men like that. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is over and over on the film, and even during the game, we're like, Zig saved us on that one, and he's taken on some guys that were quite a bit bigger than him.
Well, last week especially.
And taking them on, they had a full head of steam, and they're coming to get the quarterback, he's making plays and he's fighting and he's working and he just, those kinds of things are quiet ways and quiet reasons why you win ball games.
You talked at the beginning of the season about the fact that Jaden Lacey could be a breakaway kind of player, a big play type player, and I think maybe he had a little bit of a breakout game Saturday. 2 touchdown receptions, the one long one that was the game winner, another decently long reception in the first half, I think that led to another score. So he had some nice plays on the offensive side, maybe gain a little bit of confidence.
Yeah, he did. He's got that ability, and I just, like anyone else, he's getting a little more consistent as the season goes on and blocking a little better and giving us better effort away from the ball. And those are things young players learn, and he's doing a better job of it. So it's he's got the big play potential, which you'd love to have on the field. And as soon as he gets more consistent, he can be really special.
And going back to the defense, I wanted to mention a couple of people who constantly seem to be in the Galesburg backfield. Of course, I think you expect things like that from Hilliard and Tommy Wilson, but Terrell Henderson, I think, had a couple nice plays in the backfield too.
He did. He's another sophomore that's out there playing and having an impact. He kind of got thrust into a starting role out of necessity of lack of defensive linemen, and he's done a really good job as he continues to improve. And he made plays this week. I thought Eli made some more plays this week, and defensive line early in the game, as I said, kept us in the game, and those defensive linemen had a lot to do with it.
How important is it to be 2-1 against the type of a schedule you opened with? Because Central and Centennial and Galesburg were all pretty decent football teams.
They're all playoff teams last year. Their enrollments are all bigger than ours, if that matters to some people. They talk about it a lot. It's a big deal to us. You'd love to be 3-0, but 2-1 against a tough schedule with one trip, extremely long, and we take them one at a time. But you step back and look at the season in thirds, first 3, middle 3, and last 3. I was hoping we would be 3-0 or 2-1 at the end of 3 ball games. That was my hope, and we got it done. And I think that's what made Saturday so satisfying. I think we played good competition. We probably didn't play our best football, but we were able to come out of it in 2 close games at 2-1, and we'll take it. We know we can still get a lot better, and we got to continue to improve in practice. But I'm proud of it, where we're at right now.
I think you can see too, and I think we can see as media and as fans, that the team is getting better from week to week.
I think so. As I watch film, I notice it more than anything that we're much more consistent than we were at week 1. We're making more blocks, we're making more plays. Kids did a great job catching the ball this week. We didn't have a lot of drop passes. Ike when he put the ball in there, they were catching it, and so I'm hoping we can keep building on that and improving. We talk about that constantly. Some teams will get better as the year progresses. Some teams will stay the same, and some teams will get worse. We've got to be one of the teams that continues to get better, and because our opponents are going to get tougher and tougher, and we've got some tough ball games down the road, and of course the playoffs. It's a hope to make the playoffs, and you'll play the best in the playoffs. So we have to keep getting better.
And I think we need to mention defensively too. We talked about the defensive line in particular, but the secondary's been under the gun quite a bit the first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And they were starting to be in position where they could make plays and break up passes and do some things defensively. A couple of tip passes that saved touchdowns at the end of the game.
And didn't let things behind them and give up big plays like that. And so those are, again, it's a secondary is relatively new outside of one player. So there's a lot of room for growth and improvement there. And we knew starting the season they were going to make some mistakes as a young bunch. We've got some experience under our belts. Hopefully we can continue to improve. We've got some passing teams coming up. We're going to need this improvement. But I was real proud of the effort of the whole defense. I mentioned some of the defensive linemen, Jai Brown and Adolph Paulson and Kyle Hughes and Alec Childers, and a number of guys made plays on Saturday, which is big for us.
You're into the conference season now, a little more familiarity with the teams you're playing, and 2 constants about your first opponent in the South 7 Conference. Coach Galladay is going to have on the hard hat.
It's 1.
And they're going to be fast and athletic, the Cahokia Comanches.
Right. Well,
so that's what you're going to see Friday night.
No doubt. He'll have them ready. They're a little younger this year than they have been, which means good things for their future, that's for sure. They've lost to some good teams, so they come in here with like a 1-2 record, but they've lost to 2 good football teams, and they're athletic, they're fast, they're very aggressive on defense, so they'll create some problems. And like anything else with Cahokia, you got to stay on them early. We can't let them get confidence and get out and get the lead, and then because the bigger the lead they get, if they play well early, it tends to snowball and they get better and better as the game progresses. So it'll be important for us to get off to a little faster start than we have been.
Well, and not only that, but you have to hit your assignments too, because it doesn't take very much. A little slip here, a little hole there, and they can turn what's normally a short gain into a long gain or a score.
Yeah. At any time on the field, they're capable of scoring, and we've seen that before. Stopped them, and then boom, 80-yard touchdown run. I mean, they're persistent. They'll keep pounding at you. There's no quit in them. They quarterback can scramble, can throw the ball on the run. They got kids that can go get it. They're still young and learning, and I'm sure they feel like they're getting better every week, just like we do. But they'll present some challenges. It's at Cahokia, so that'll present a challenge in itself. So their home field, and so yeah, we better play well again. I keep telling the kids, every game that's left on our schedule is a winnable game. Every game left on our schedule is a losable game, if that's a word. But I know that we have to keep playing well to keep winning.
Cahokia teams in the past, some of them have been run-oriented. In the years with Patrick Ivy, they were pass-oriented. Where does this team fall in that
A little bit of
base?
both. They're a little more balanced. I went and saw them play 2 weeks ago, and I saw a balance of run and pass. Outside run, inside run. Quarterback, they made a change at quarterback, so I'm not sure which one we'll see, but the second half quarterback threw the ball pretty well and wasn't afraid to throw it deep at any time, and you know they've got the people to go get it. So, yeah, it'll be a more of a balanced attack.
Your team this week, I think part of the main thing is to be able to control the ball, keep the ball out of their hands as much as possible. You start to establish some other runners. Ziegler gets his, we know, but Paulson's been running well. Young Caden Hilliard's been running the ball well. Kyle Hughes always runs hard. You've been able to get, and I think you've been getting some different running out of the change of pace offense too.
Right.
Some different guys. So
Yeah.
you've been able to mix it up and do some things to be able to keep the ball on the ground and keep control of the football.
Yeah, we'd love to get a lot of guys touches, running and passing, and so we had a number of guys make catches the last few weeks, a number of guys that had decent runs for us, and as you said, we're calling plays and we're trying to execute, and we expect anyone who's in there to make plays and make it happen, whether it's Malcolm Berry or Adolph or, like you said, any of those guys, Jaden. So it's a backfield by committee with Zig as that number one guy, but a whole bunch of other people getting involved.
You said something after the game Saturday that actually was kind of funny. You were looking forward to a bus ride to Cahokia.
In comparison.
So, how much is it different now than it was several years ago when Cahokia and Althoff were your longest trips?
Very different. It's just all about perspective. It's, when you compare it to a trip to Sacred Heart, or you compare it to a trip to Chatham Glenwood, or compare it to Metamora or Galesburg, your conference schedule doesn't seem as daunting. And I think it's, in a lot of ways, it makes the conference trips a little easier. The bus ride, not the games, the bus ride a lot easier. So those don't seem like as big a deals as they once did, because when you coach in the Black Diamond or the North Egypt Conference or the Southwest Egyptian or other conferences I've been in, your longest trip is the one you dread the most. But when you compare that long trip compared to the South 7 trips and now our non-conference schedule, none of those trips seem bad anymore at all. So I had a lot of South 7 people who are traditional South 7 people tell me they used to think Centralia was a long trip, because I guess that would have been the longest trip back then. But Centralia doesn't sound too bad right now, does it?
No, it doesn't. Well, when back in the old South 7, when it Marion to Heron and Marion to Carbondale, in conference games.
And Harrisburg.
And Harrisburg, right. Those are all close.
Yeah. So, yes, we're not really worried about the road trip part of it at all this week.
Well, and I think something, too, that will make this trip easier is traditionally over the last 4 or 5 trips to Cahokia, Marion's had more fans than Cahokia has.
Yeah. They've playing there has always been, had very hospitable treatment there. The athletic department, their administration's been great. We've always felt comfortable there. I mean, it's never been a big issue, but I also believe that having the number of fans that we have support us there kind of takes away the home field advantage. And we've seen that everywhere we've been. We felt that way back when we played Heron. We had such a big crowd on our sideline that it helps absorb some of that we're away from home feeling and makes you feel like you are at home because you've got such a great crowd support. So we expect a good turnout again. We had a lot of fans that actually traveled to Galesburg.
There were.
Surprisingly, which thankful we had that because that's a long trip. And they came and they supported and they were loud. And so I'm sure there'll be a Cahokia on Friday as well.
You've been fortunate to be healthy pretty much all season, still the same situation?
Yeah, we've got a few dings here and there and still waiting to get Xavier back. But it's a week by week, day by day thing. But we come into week 4 fairly healthy.
All right, that's Kerry Martin. He's our weekly guest here on Dateline Marion. This week, the Wildcats go to Cahokia to take on the Comanches. The second of 3 straight road games, 7 o'clock on Friday night.
That's it.
And for Dateline Marion, this is Tim Petrowich.